A permanent 20% buff without ever reloading in PvE, and a fast 20-meter one burst at base in PvP. The crafted Techeun Force is the king of all fusion rifles in Destiny 2. No longer hidden behind a wall of RNG, Last Wish raid weapons are back, craftable, and contain some of the best perk combos imaginable. Techeun Force, the adaptive arc fusion rifle, is no exception. I previously ranked Techeun as the #1 fusion rifle for Destiny 2 PvP thanks to the combo of Under Pressure and Rangefinder on a fast charging fusion, but I had serious doubts they would bring back the crafted version with Rangefinder available on it. The rarity of just getting the drop was one of the things that kept it in check, but it's here and it's got everything that put it at the top and more. It's the best fusion rifle in the game, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to craft the perfect Techeun Force for you. Techeun Force is an adaptive frame, just like Burden of Guilt and the recent Iron Banner fusion, Pressurized Precision, so it's got a 660 charge time and fires 7 bolts a burst. I've grown to really love adaptive frame fusions, but they're not for the lighthearted. They're not as stable and forgiving as precision frame fusions like Main Ingredient and Epicurean, but in exchange, adaptives like Techeun get a faster charge time, 660 compared to the 780 precision frames. So if you can master the bolts, you are heavily rewarded in speed. This is the thing that sets them apart. In PvE, I find it's more about the perks. Rapids put out a ton of damage so fast, so you really need the right perks to one-up them with an adaptive. Fortunately, Techeun has this covered in the perks department. Then in PvP, there is this perfect mix of speed, range, and damage you can hit. There is just nothing better than outcharging a main ingredient and saying, sorry, mine's faster, while disintegrating them from 20 meters away. Before we get to the perks that let you do that, let's look at the stats to see if there's anything we need to be aware of while selecting the perks. Techeun Force has some of the best range of all adaptives at 39, just 2 points behind Burden of Guilt, and 1 point behind Pressurized Precision. Its stability is kind of in the middle of the road at 39, but handling and aim assist are the lowest parts of the stat package, with handling at 27 and aim assist at 44, right near the bottom in class for each. Handling isn't a huge issue for me personally, but the aim assist value could be of concern. The perks really do us a solid here though, because Under Pressure in the third column essentially makes up for the low aim assist value. Under Pressure gives you an automatic 25 to 50% smaller accuracy cone, which is extremely good. Firmly Planted only gives you 20. Sure, it'd be great to have the aim assist higher, but adaptives like Timeline's Vertex, Burden of Guilt, Royal Executioner, and Pressurized Precision don't even have access to Under Pressure. They have to rely almost entirely on their stat package or Firmly Planted. The adaptives that do currently have Under Pressure, Dreambreaker and Trinary System, have it hidden under a massive level of RNG. So for Under Pressure to be available here on a crafted adaptive fusion is huge. Before we move on to the rest of the third column perks, I want to send a friendly reminder to hit subscribe if you've been enjoying the videos and learning from them. We're going to hit 25,000 this week, and I'd love for you to be a part of the climb as we go higher. Okay, the third column also has Threat Detector, Kill Clip, Envious Assassin, Slideways, and Reconstruction, all of which you can forget about. Some of these are good perks, but even after Under Pressure towers over the usefulness of most of the perks, Rewind Rounds will nullify all that's left. Rewind Rounds on Techeun Force essentially lets you fire every round you have without ever reloading. It refunds 60% of your shots every time you hit at least 28.5% of the magazine capacity, which in this case is 2 shots. This rids the need of juggling Envious Assassin, Slide Shot, and even Reconstruction. Kill Clip is the one perk that has some damage stacking niche you could get into since it's here in the third column, but stacking that with more damage like Golden Tricorn in the fourth column gets weird because the timers are completely different for all those perks. Kill Clip is 5 seconds, Golden Tricorn times 1 is 7 seconds, and Golden Tricorn times 2 is 10 seconds. So it's just a lot to keep track of. I can see a version of that working for someone in PvE, but in PvP, it only gets you as fast as a 3-bolt, and you can do that with just Golden Tricorn times 2 and Radiant. On to the fourth column, we already mentioned Golden Tricorn, which is a very strong 50% buff once you take it to level 2. But just like the third column, Techeun's fourth column also has perks that completely tower over the others. For PvE, it's Controlled Burst. Controlled Burst gives a 20% buff once it's activated, and it lasts for 2 seconds. The description says it increases damage and reduces charge time for landing every shot in your fusion burst, but that's not entirely accurate. It actually activates even if you only hit 1 bolt out of your burst, but you still get the kill. So it basically activates no matter how you use your fusion in PvE. You can go on a streak with small mob enemies or lay a ton of shots into one big one, and you'll keep that 20% damage buff rolling either way. The charge time increases seem to be just slightly better than a charge time perk, as my testing showed the bolts coming out at about 4 frames faster at 60 frames per second. Just keep in mind, this is only active for 2 seconds and you'll have to keep shooting to keep it refreshed. So that perk seals the deal for me over every other perk for PvE in the 4th column. High Impact Reserves gives up to 25.6% in PvE, but that's only on your very last shot. This is a consistent 20% buff once you get it rolling, so you're gonna do more overall damage on a boss. Collective Action and Kickstart are both the same 20% but require pickups or sliding, so Controlled Burst is just easier. This is even more true with Golden Tricorn, as there are so many things to stack to get that 50% buff, and having the 20% Controlled Burst buff all the time just sounds easier to manage. 4th column for PvP is a little more tricky. Highlights are definitely High Impact Reserves, Rangefinder, and Kickstart. Controlled Burst sounds interesting, but with the timer at only 2 seconds, it's not really worth it. Backup Plan is awful on adaptives, do not use this. It reduces your damage so much that it takes you 7 bolts to eliminate a 10 Resil Guardian even within range. Collective Action is kind of a free 20% buff if you're running it with Stasis and collecting your shards, but it's just a gimmick way to play, and if you want to do that, you might as well go with Kickstart. Kickstart, let's talk about that. I am, unfortunately, really impressed with Kickstart on Techeun Force. I actually really dislike the playstyle, both using it and playing against players running it with Antaeus wards, but it is surprisingly good on Techeun Force. I'm talking, I liked it better than I did on Iterative Loop. The reason why, I think, has to do with the base stats being so much better on Techeun Force than Iterative Loop. They both have Under Pressure, but Techeun has nearly 20 more base range than Iterative does. That's a lot more room for aim assist to take over and connect your shots while you're sliding in with 20% extra damage, and I felt the difference in consistency. Kickstart's 20% extra damage doesn't make an adaptive 4-bolt with some surge mods, but it keeps it a consistent 5-bolt across the board, and it just feels good. High recommend for those who like the playstyle. But what I recommend even more, and will not stop talking about until they nerf it, is Rangefinder. It is incredible. We just got Rangefinder on Pressurized Precision as well, when previously we didn't have Rangefinder on any adaptive except a rare RNG drop of Techeun Force. Now we can craft it, which is crazy because we also have Under Pressure on this weapon, which we don't have on Pressurized Precision. Rangefinder on a fusion is like Zoom 2.0. Zoom was changed after the Forsaken expansion to not help fusions as much as it does on other weapons. It's still good, just not as good. Rangefinder works around that nerf and gives its 10% zoom buff directly to magnification, which currently buffs your damage fall off distance, your aim assist fall off distance, your recoil, and your accuracy. You get all of that the same way you would as if Rangefinder was on another weapon, not just the crappy zoom stat that fusions have. To put that into perspective, a 21 zoom Timeline's Vertex will not even one burst as far as a 15 zoom Techeun Force with Rangefinder. That is how busted Rangefinder is. If you're worried about Rangefinder falling apart after the zoom nerf, don't be. First, Rangefinder will still be great. The only thing being taken away is damage fall off distance, and so Rangefinder will still give better recoil accuracy and aim assist fall off distance. And second, we've also got High Impact Reserves. In PvP, High Impact Reserves buffs the bottom half of your magazine from 3 to 6% depending on where you are in the mag. You'll have a large portion of that buff since you only start with 2 in the mag for PvP. So it's an awesome perk you always want on a fusion rifle. In this case, it makes up for nearly all the differences between an adaptive frame and a precision frame in damage output. So you can go to town 5-bolting most guardians within your damage falloff range. Even outside of range, you can sometimes hit some nasty shots while experiencing damage falloff thanks to High Impact Reserves extra damage. So, where does that leave us on our god rolls on the crafted Techeun Force? For PvE, I feel like you've got one standout option that nothing else can do: rewind rounds and controlled bursts. Rewind rounds is constantly refilling your magazine from reserves whether you're slaying out mobs or just damaging a boss. And controlled burst is activated the same way and gives you a 20% damage buff on the top of your endless magazine. I found running this on an arc subclass to be pretty fun, as you can equip the Spark of Beacons fragment that will cause blinding explosions from your arc special weapon kills. There will be competition from other PvE fusions like Iterative Loop with Volt Shot and now Pressurized Precision with Discord, but Techeun Force can literally fire its entire ammo reserves without reloading while keeping a 20% buff for the entire time? Just playing the game as normal? That is tough to beat. Even if it's not optimal DPS, it's easy DPS, and that counts for a lot in a game like Destiny 2. Okay, now the big question. What's the god roll for a PvP crafted Techeun Force? The way I see it, you have 3 options. Number 1, you go the way I did and create the rangiest, most consistent speed fusion Destiny has ever seen. When I was first testing this out, I actually played it pretty mild on the range. I tried to run extended barrel or counterbalance mods to get the bolts in the best recoil position they could possibly be. But the more I tinkered with the fusion and the perks, the further into an all-range build I went. I eventually abandoned any recoil fixes and stability boosts altogether. A charge time masterwork with full bore, projection fuse, under pressure, and rangefinder with a targeting adjuster and as many targeting mods as your setup allows. I have 0 regrets, and the more I play with this craft, the higher I recommend it. I also recommend enhancing Under Pressure as it increases the benefits you receive from the perk, but feel free to save your materials on Rangefinder as the enhanced version just gives you a very small +5 to handling. You may be wondering why I went Charge Time Masterwork despite it hurting my 5-bolt kill potential, and that's because I am placing the bet entirely on me landing 6 to 7 bolts every time. The way all my range and rangefinder push out accuracy and aim assist make it to where I can consistently land those shots at range every time. A quick word of warning, if you go this route, all this accuracy we've pushed out does make it harder to land bolts up close. So if your goal is to stay in the 10 to 15 meter range, this setup may not fit right for your playstyle, but I truly cannot get enough of it. I feel so safe taking these shots well outside of shotgun range. The second way to craft it is to make it a little safer up close and future-proof your Techeun Force with high impact reserves. Rangefinder does a whole lot, but high impact reserve still feels really good, and there isn't as much of a chance of it changing in the coming seasons. It's not my personal preference, but I know many who would rather land that 5-bolt kill every time with their adaptive than risk it with Rangefinder. I ran it with my exact setup I was running on Rangefinder, Charge Time Masterwork, Full Bore, Projection Fuse, Under Pressure, and then high impact reserves with the Targeting Adjuster mod. It's a solid roll combination that you can't find on many adaptive frame fusions, and even the fusions that do have it are extremely difficult to get. I do recommend enhancing both Under Pressure and High Impact Reserves if you plan on staying with this roll. High Impact Reserves activates the extra damage faster in your magazine and will increase the damage for every individual bolt as you go through it. Really complicated, but know that it will absolutely help you break through to that 5-bolt consistency. The third way to craft it, and my least favorite way to play, is with Kickstart. It felt far too consistent to not recommend. I know you could go all charge time perks with accelerated coils and charge time masterwork to still 5-bolt with Kickstart, but I sincerely felt that going with a more rangy build felt better, so I kept it all the same and threw a Kickstart at the end of it. Charge time masterwork, full bore, projection fuse, under pressure, and Kickstart with a targeting adjuster mod. The near 20 extra range on Techeun versus iterative loop made a huge difference, and despite disliking the style of play myself, I have to give it a recommend based on the performance of the fusion alone. So go, right now, don't walk, run, and grab your Techeun Force red borders. PvE will be situational, but in PvP, the crafted Under Pressure with Rangefinder Techeun solidifies it as the best fusion rifle in Destiny 2. A 620 charge time that one bursts at 20 meters and is incredibly consistent at doing so. You're in the range of the best precision and high impact fusions available, but you're doing the same thing they do, just faster. There's a cost, your ease of use up close, but once you master the recoil and the ranges you can operate in, I can almost guarantee you'll find you agree that Techeun Force is king. Will this change when the zoom nerf hits? There's honestly no way to know with how complicated fusion zoom is. What I do know is that Rangefinder will still pack an incredible punch, pushing out aim assist, increasing recoil control, and bumping your accuracy. What about rapid fires? Wouldn't they be the best fusion? The answer here is complicated because anything with a faster charge time and instant kill could beat an adaptive. A shotgun or a rapid fire will win if they simply pull the trigger at the same time you do. That said, neither of them will map you at 20 meters, so it all comes down to that mix of speed, range, and consistency, and to me, it's clear that Techeun takes the win. So don't put it off. Even if it's not the weekly featured raid, the bounty from Hawthorne currently gives you 2 red borders of your selected weapon when you complete it, and that is a bug that's getting fixed soon, so grab those red borders before the patch comes. Craft the best fusion rifle that Destiny 2 has ever seen. This has been Lego LaFlash, your place for Destiny 2 cinematic breakdowns. Until next time, GG.